Being stuck in quarantine for 1 year has made me feel unproductive. We are stuck in our houses and on our phones and computers more than ever. One day I decided to challenge myself and search productive things to do in quarantine. The first thing that popped up was learn a new language. So, to give myself a challenge, I decided that I was gonna learn the hardest language, Japanese. But we have one problem. Language is best learned when you talk with other people, so being in quarantine is a big obstacle. I thought to myself, if only there was a way to travel to new places and talk to other people. Then, it hit me. We are going to VRChat. The idea of surrounding yourself with the language you want to learn is called active immersion. Many linguists use this method over language memorization apps because active immersion is more natural. And if you think about it, as babies, we all learned our native language not through textbooks and apps, but through constant immersion. To start things off, I opened up VRChat, and I spawned in a rooftop lounge. To my surprise, there was no one there, so I popped open my menu and I joined the first Japanese looking server I found. And here it was. I found both Japanese and English speakers here.
Trouble. 7. I mean, 日本語で7という。
Oh no.
なんだか英語は中国の。
I obviously didn't know what they were saying here, but this part is only just listening.
ありがとうみんな。なんかありがとうありがとう。殺さないで殺さないで。マジで痛い痛い痛い。
Oh god.
Now a lot of weird stuff happened. This is VRChat after all. But even in the weirdness, there were some genuine moments like this virtual street performer I found. Now despite what the internet told me about active immersion and surrounding yourself with your target language, being in this environment made me feel uncomfortable, and honestly, I didn't feel like I was learning a thing. I eventually went up to a native speaker and asked her where I could find more people that spoke Japanese.
こっちとチュートリアルとなんだかチュートリアルに完成するワールドも。
And that was it. In VRChat, everyone has to go through some tutorial world, and there was a world just for Japanese people. So I asked if they could drop a portal and I went in. I spawned in, and as soon as I went through the door, I saw a ton of Japanese speakers. Then, I thought, this was the right place for me to learn Japanese.
違うんだよ。
キビ先生それ公認もらいに行こうちゃんと。
見て。
完全に何かをしてる。ちなみにこれモザイク。
But the same blessing was also a curse.
人間とロボットと獣どれがいい？
いや日曜日空いてるなら絶対行くよ。
まあ要はゴミですよね。データのキャッシュが消えるっていうのがあるんですね。チェック行くよ。
移住する。
いや日曜日空いてるなら絶対行くよ。
ありがとう。おかげさま。
そうそんな感じ。
It was then when I realized maybe this was a bad idea. How could someone go from knowing a language to being fluent just by surrounding yourself with it? I was being overwhelmed by people asking me things I didn't understand, but I didn't give up. After looking around the world, I found someone who knew both Japanese and English. I asked him about how he learned Japanese.
Genki, Boom Pro, Anki for vocab, and then I read manga and watch TV and anime.
After listening to many people like him who were studying Japanese, it was clear that I needed some support alongside my active immersion. So, I turned to Duolingo and started learning the first 2 alphabets, hiragana and katakana. Ni, chi, ni, ichi. I even searched up the most common phrases in Japanese and practiced them. Arigato, arigato. どういたしまして。ここに英語を話せる人はいますか？ここに英語を話せる人はいますか？ Wakarimasen. I also met other people learning Japanese, and they showed me a Japanese world which included most phrases and common expressions.
So the hiragana and the katakana are literally the exact same sounds. They're just written slightly differently. Right. So really it always is. The kanji are really just the meaning of the words, and all the hiragana is basically just the grammar around it. And if you see katakana, that's an English word. That's basically how it's all structured.
With the combination of all the resources I had to learn Japanese, I started understanding it and even noticing patterns. So here's the thing I noticed about Japanese sentences, and that is you would say stuff in reverse compared to English. So let's say I wanna, say, I'm going to eat an apple, right? And apple is like in the middle of the sentence, and like eat, like my verb, is in like the beginning of the sentence. But in Japanese, I would say ringo o tabimasu. Ringo is apple. So I would say apple first and then the verb tabimasu. After mastering the basics and some vocabulary, I decided to take a Japanese fluency test. Okay, here we are taking a Japanese, a basic Japanese N5 fluency test. I'm not expecting to pass this, I'm just expecting to at least understand some questions. Alright, here he goes. Blank no kotoba wa hiragana de do kakimasu ka? Mono o hitosu erande kudasai. Atarashi kuruma desu ne. Atarashi. Yoku dekimashita. Kudasai. Loud. Yokimashita. I don't know. I did it. Yokumashita. You were going on a walk. That's okay. So this is wrong. Okay, so if it's blue X, I don't know why it's like reverse, but red O is right and blue X is wrong. Heya ni. That's wrong. No. Heya no.
お国はどちらですか ?1 あちらです
Achira? I'm just saying That's wrong. It was America. Yeah, America desu. Alright, out of everything, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a failing grade. That's 7 out of 14. That's half. I know half. I'm half fluent in N5, which is like the most basic level of Japanese. After failing half of the tests, I decided to muster up some courage and prove my half N5 fluency. I've labeled all the words I didn't know in red to show how much I understood. Hi hi.
カリフォルニアに住んでる？
はいはい。
おー、そっかそっか。
だからはい。
いや。
リットルそういうのないわ。
で、DJ だけど、本当に DJ それとも
DJ じゃない。でも団子が大好き。日本に初めに日本に行った時には団子を食べた。その後で。
行ったことあるんだ。
1週間だけ。その時に日本語があんまりわからなかった。ありがとうだけ。でも発音は違う。ありがとうなと。
ありがとう。
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 ありがとうございますか。
はい。ありがとう、Thank you。
ありがとう。
おやすみなさい。
おやすみなさい。It's amazing what a couple of sessions of practicing can do. I honestly thought I wouldn't understand a thing, but when I got on, the practice I did paid off. I even took part in some of the conversations and had some fun with Japanese people. Go! Go!
Go! 夢に行こう。
いや、死ねー！
ちょっと待って。
マリオです。
すごいね。マリオです。
なんで君は私を好きじゃないの？敬語。なるほど。なんで一緒
嘘だ。
あ、待って。
うん、そう、あの人は日本人じゃない。
Wait, wait.
でもなんか日本人。
あ、じゃあ、
Oh my god. I'm on it. Tony.
No!
Are you asking me from where I am?
それ
Oh my god.
いやー、行こ
I'm talking about this guy.
Oh yeah.
う行こ
This guy's crazy. Is that wait a second? Is that a
He's on top of the world!
hamster?
He's on top of the world now! That's so sick!
Wait, are you sleepy?
Alright, the camera's gonna come.
Sleeping? Yeah, you're really sleeping today.
ありがとう
Hamster.
Tony, activate the chair.
Hamster's eye.
Sit on it. Tony.
What? Oh, now I can.
Okay.
Oh well, what the fuck? Now I'm scared. Don't do anything wrong.
せーの
Oh no.
行こ
I
う
said
よ
don't do anything wrong.
What the fuck?
Team Rocket blasting off
気
the
をつけ
space
て
again.
気をつけて
何を気をつけて好きなの
We're never gonna see him again.
死んじゃった
死んでないから。
神様見えた
Oh my god. How the fuck are you up
あり
there?
がとうございます
本当綺麗。すごい。
It was good, yes?
We sometimes underestimate how important it is to push yourself to do a new thing. 1 week ago, I was just sitting on my couch binging YouTube and had the crazy idea of learning one of the hardest languages. A simple idea became a challenge, and now I'm talking to people across the globe in a language I only just learned. If someone were to ask me how to make quarantine more fun, I would simply say one thing: challenge yourself.